I never believed the stories about haunted hotels, especially in big cities like New York. But that changed the week I stayed at the Grand Lexington Hotel, a century-old landmark on 45th Street, famous for marble floors, golden chandeliers, and a dark history no one talked about openly. I was in Manhattan for work. My company booked the hotel because of its reputation: prestigious, historic, safe. At least, that's what I thought. It was only when I checked in that I realized something was wrong. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a forced smile, slid my room key across the counter. "Room 912, she said. Before I could pocket the key, a bellboy standing nearby froze. His eyes flicked up, and his expression tightened. 912, he repeated quietly. "Ma'am, are you sure?" She shot him a warning look. "Yes. Please take Mr. Carter's luggage." He swallowed hard and nodded. As we walked to the elevator, he whispered, "If you hear anything at night, don't open the door." I stopped. Why would I open the door? He didn't answer. The elevator doors slid shut, trapping us inside. He stared at the shining numbers, refusing to look at me. When we reached the 9th floor, the hallway lights flickered overhead. The corridor smelled faintly of old perfume, sweet, stale, heavy. Room 912 was at the very end of the hallway. The bellboy hesitated before handing me my bag. "Just keep the chain locked, even if someone knocks." Before I could ask anything else, he hurried away, practically running back to the elevator. I unlocked the room. Room 912 wasn't extraordinary, just an old luxury room. A queen bed with a deep red blanket, a worn armchair, tall windows overlooking the street. But the moment I stepped inside, the air felt cold. Not normal cold, unnatural, like walking into a refrigerator. I checked the thermostat, 76 degrees Fahrenheit, but my breath fogged slightly. I shook it off as hotel quirks. Old buildings always had issues. After a shower, I settled into the bed and turned on the TV. Static greeted me, just static. I changed channels, but every channel was the same hissing white noise. Then the screen flickered. For half a second, I saw a blurry figure, long hair, white dress, standing in the corner behind me. I twisted around, nothing there. When I looked back at the TV, it was working normally again. I told myself I was tired. Jet lag, stress, nothing more. I turned off the lights at 11:47 p.m. and tried to sleep. 2. The first night, sometime past midnight, I woke to a soft sound. Tap, tap, tap. Someone knocking. I opened my eyes. The room was pitch black. Tap, tap, tap. I checked the time on my phone. 2:19 a.m. Someone was knocking on my door. At first, I thought it might be housekeeping by mistake. But then I remembered the bellboy's warning. "Don't open the door." The knocking continued, soft, polite, almost patient. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, heartbeat thudding in my ears. "Who is it?" I called. The knocking stopped instantly. Silence filled the room. I waited, listening to the hum of the old air vent. A minute passed, then another. I exhaled and lay back down. Just as I closed my eyes, the knocking started again, harder this time. Tap, tap, tap. I jumped up and walked slowly toward the door. I looked through the peephole. No one. But the knocking continued. 3 knocks, then silence, then 3 more. My hands shook as I backed away from the door. Finally, the knocks stopped at exactly 3:03 a.m. I didn't sleep again that night. 3. Morning revelations. The next morning, I went downstairs to complain. The receptionist from the night before wasn't there. Instead, An older man with a stiff suit and tired smile stood behind the desk. "Was there construction last night?" I asked. Someone kept knocking on my door. His face went pale. "What room are you in?" 912. He slowly set down his pen. "Sir, that room should not have been assigned." "What does that mean?" "It means I'll move you immediately." He handed me a key to a different room, 605, without explanation. I wanted answers, but he refused to say anything more. When I went back upstairs to grab my bag, the 9th floor was colder. The lights flickered again, and as I walked toward 912, I noticed something I hadn't before. Every other door had doormats, hanging tags, scratches from luggage wheels. But room 912 looked untouched. No marks, no signs of use, almost like no one had stayed there in years. I grabbed my bag, left quickly, and moved to room 605. It was warmer, brighter, and felt normal. But at 2:19 a.m., the knocking started again. 4. The woman in white. This time, the knocks didn't come from my door. They came from the window, 9 floors above the street. I froze in bed as the tapping echoed through the glass. Tap, tap, tap. My heart turned to ice. Slowly, against every instinct, I turned my head toward the window. A pale face stared back at me from the other side of the glass. She hovered outside, hundreds of feet in the air, long tangled hair floating around her, eyes hollow, skin bruised purple like she had been underwater. Her hand lifted and tapped again. Tap. The window pane vibrated. I scrambled backward, falling off the bed. I pressed my back against the far wall, breath shaking. She didn't move. She just stared, head tilted, hair drifting like she was suspended in deep water. Then she opened her mouth. It stretched too wide, too far, the jaw cracking unnaturally. And in a distorted, wet whisper, she said, "You're in my room." The window cracked. A thin fracture crawled across the glass. Then another. I ran out of the room. 5. The truth about room 912. The night manager found me trembling in the hallway. When I told him what I saw, he didn't look surprised. He sighed deeply, then motioned for me to follow him to the staff lounge. He closed the door and sat down. "There's something you need to know," he said. 22 years ago, a woman named Eliza Moore jumped from the window of room 912. My throat tightened. "Why?" She checked in alone. The staff heard knocking from her room all night. Polite, soft knocks. When security entered in the morning, she was gone. The window was open. Her body was found on the street below. He lowered his voice. The knocks never stopped. Guests in that room reported hearing them every night at the same time, 2:19 a.m., the exact time she jumped. I swallowed hard. And the window tapping, that started a few years later. People claimed to see her face in the glass, begging to be let in. He rubbed his forehead. "We sealed the room for good. No one should have sent you there. It's closed permanently." But then why did she follow me to room 605? He looked at me with haunted eyes. "Because you opened the door when she knocked the first time." My blood ran cold. "I didn't open the door," I whispered. "You approached it," he said. "That's enough. She thinks you invited her in." 6. The final night, the hotel offered to move me to a different floor, even a different building, but my flight was early the next morning. I decided to stay in the lobby until sunrise. At 2:19 a.m., the lobby lights flickered. The temperature dropped. The glass entrance doors began to rattle, soft taps echoing across the empty lobby. Tap, tap, tap. The night manager stood beside me, face gray with fear. He whispered, "Don't look. Don't look at the door." But I did. I couldn't stop myself. Through the glass, I saw her, Eliza, standing barefoot on the sidewalk, staring in. Her hair floating in that underwater way, her hollow eyes locked on me. Her lips stretched into a too-wide smile. Then she whispered something I'll never forget. "Check-out time." The glass cracked. The night manager grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the staff hallway just as the doors exploded inward with a deafening shatter. We ran until we reached the service exit behind the building. Only when the icy air lifted did we know she hadn't followed. I waited outside until sunrise. 7. Aftermath. I left New York that morning and never returned. A few months later, I searched online for information about the Grand Lexington Hotel. Room 912 had been sealed since 2003. No guests allowed. No bookings assigned. The hotel had strict instructions not to open it for any reason. So why did the receptionist give me the key? Why did the bellboy warn me? And why, even now, do I sometimes wake up at 2:19 a.m. to the faint sound of tap, tap, tap on my window, no matter where I am?